Hey everyone, it's Christian here, and this is not a palm review of a certain species, but more of a type of palm. And we're going to talk about what Florida Fancy means and how the horticulture industry classifies certain types of palm. So if you have looked around at buying a specimen palm, you may have noticed that some of them have been described as Florida Fancy, which is considered the best class or the best quality of plant you can buy in Florida. And elsewhere where they might be sold, they might actually use that term abroad. I'm not actually sure. I haven't looked in say Australia or Asia, but the term Florida Fancy actually comes from the citrus industry to describe the quality and sweetness of oranges and other citrus. So it's a moniker that's kind of just been transferred over to the plant industry. So when someone uses that term, it's more of just a way of saying that their palms are of the highest quality. And I came here to this little courtyard that houses a little strip mall on both sides, and you can see how fat this royal is here. This is a pretty typical of a Florida Fancy. You can see the size of, maybe I put my hand out there, I don't know if that's a good reference, but typical Florida Fancy royal palm here is going to have a flared trunk, as you can see up, and then it's going to come up and it's going to have a bulge in the middle, and then it's going to have a nice fat crown shaft, and usually a full head of leaves. Sometimes they'll have to be chopped off due to certain reasons, like they're right next to a building, but this is a typical Florida Fancy royal. I don't like using the term. I just like to look at the plants and get a good picture and get a good perspective here of for example, these royals right here are not nearly as fat. They'd be called class 1 or type A royals that they're not quite as large. They still have the ventricose trunk, meaning that it's bulbous and fat in the middle, and still have a decent sized crown, but they're not the plant that say you can see even that one is closer to Florida Fancy type that they use. And again, I don't like using that term because it's not really a palm term, it's a citrus term. But if I back up here, let's kind of without shaking the camera. The problem is a little pergola, so if you come up and take a look at it's a much nicer looking plant. That still is pretty. Let's walk back a little faster here. So this, and you can kind of look all over South Florida, and you'll see all different types of Florida Fancies. Now this is in a little bit of shade, so the size of this versus, say, even the size of this palm over here, it will make a difference in the price of the palm. Now, will Type 1 palms ever become Florida Fancy? No, not after they get trunk. They won't. They can't really change their size. If they do, they'll kind of start splitting their trunk. There's a good Florida Fancy right there, just kind of sitting there. Don't know why I didn't just choose to film that one. It's in the sun and everything. So there's a couple actually. So in this term is usually just designated to certain types of palms, such as royals, sometimes the foxtails. You can see across there. Let me see if I can zoom in here. But there's some foxtails there that they're probably type 1s. The Florida Fancies of types of foxtails are going to be very fat. In fact, they're going to be fatter than you would find them even in habitat. So most of these are going to be between type 1 and Florida Fancy sizes, and but that usually either the state or the municipality will make sure that you put in good quality plants. Now you can, because a lot of people, they want to say put up a business and they build something, but the state requires that you put a certain quality plant in. I think it's type A or class 1 or higher, so you can't just put royal palms that are pencil thin and just having crown shaft problems or issues where they're just nutrient deficient. So the term Florida, that's where the term Florida Fancy kind of comes from. It's more of a old citrus term that just kind of transferred over into the palm industry, like many things have. Many people might not know this, but Florida's citrus industry actually is not doing so hot. Not as it once was back in the mid to late 20th century. And so a lot of citrus farms have now become palm farms, or they're tropicals or subtropicals. So this term is kind of used by older citrus farmers who turn into palm farmers, and the term just kind of continued to be used to today. So anyway, that's a little bit of a lesson on, not a lesson, it's a little bit of information about how palms are graded and how they're sold. You can get quite a bit more for a Florida Fancy. People will always pick the best palms first. So, but if you're just looking on a budget, Type 1 Royal, you're not going to really notice that much of a difference. In fact, you might want a Type 1 because it uses a little bit more room. A little bit less room in your yard. So, anyway, people would ask me about that term, so I just figured I'd do a vlog on it. I hope that was helpful to you guys. If it was, give it a thumbs up. If you have any more questions about Florida Fancy or classifying palms in general, leave a comment down below. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. And I'm going to get out of the cold here. It's kind of why I've been kind of short and to the point there. So you guys have a good day.